Hello everyone and welcome to my video. This video is pretty much going to be a continuation on my previous video where I showed you guys how to use Hugging Face's transformer library to do sentiment analysis on financial text, which I got from Alpha Vantage. And there I showed you guys how to use the Finbert library as is to do sentiment analysis classification. But then I showed you guys how to fine tune that model to the Alpha Vantage dataset, which had labels of bearish, neutral, and bullish. And I showed you how when you fine tune the model, you can maybe improve it a little bit. Here I'm going to just show you guys how you can use a few types of LLMs like Gemini from Google and GPT4 from ChatGPT to make some sentiment predictions. We're going to compare it to the Finbert as in the last video. We're going to show that they don't always do well as you'd expect. And also we're going to show that when you have a data set, you really got to make sure that the labels actually make some sense. Because a lot of times you're going to get a data set and they have their labels through some sort of algorithm. And the data set's labels don't make any sense. So that's also very important. And also I'll show you guys maybe how to tweak the prompts a little bit to get what you like. But in general, this whole video is basically to show you guys how to be careful with the data sets you're using, be careful with the models you're using. They're not always what you expect, and you need to fine tune with data you trust, not data that you got from the internet. So let's get started. Okay. So first I'm just going to do imports of like things that we're going to need throughout, like NumPy, Keras, Pandas, Seaborn, that sort of thing. Then I'm going to load the Alpha Vantage dataset. Just for you guys who are not familiar, Alpha Vantage has like tons of data, stock data for everything, has news data, has commodities data, earnings data, copper, natural gas. We could probably make a video on it. And I do owe you guys a video on how I created my sentiment analysis dataset. But they basically have a sentiment analysis dataset where they have sentiment scores and that sort of thing. And I basically parsed that and created my own one on Tesla sentiment. So let's assume that dataset is created and let's get started. So first thing is first, we want to load that dataset. So let's load that dataset with pandas. So first thing is you have to upload it here. So I'm going to upload it. Where is it? It's, Alpha Vantage. Okay. So basically when your Google Collab session is over, it deletes it. So like now we're waiting for this to go fully blue and then it'll start. So we're going to load this data set. In this data set, they provide us with labels of, they actually provide us with labels of like bearish, slightly bearish, bullish, slightly bullish, and neutral. And I just removed the slightly and just made it bearish, bullish, and neutral. So let me show you how it looks like. It's still loading. But once it's done, we're going to load it with pandas. We are going to do most of this analysis on the title or the headline, but they also provide the summary. So we're going to read it from CSV using pandas. I'm just going to use time published, title, summary. They summarize the text. They don't give you the whole text. And this sentiment label text is the original sentiment. Is the one which is bearish, bullish, and neutral. And the original one has the slightly bullish and slightly bearish ones. So you can inspect the data. So as you see, like it has the title, summary, and then there's a label. And one thing to already notice is that the last one here has Tesla bumps up prices of Model 3, Model Y. And it says it's somewhat bearish or negative sentiment, which is kind of crazy because as someone who's been burnt by Tesla many times, unfortunately with Tesla, crazy things happen. When prices, when they have price cuts, the stock tanks. When they have they hike prices, the stock a lot of times goes up unless it's a supply constraint reason. So this is kind of a bad label in my opinion. And maybe we can inspect it a little further. We can look at the whole text and not the truncated version. And sorry, I'm speaking fast. But like, okay, so if we look at just example 20, we can look at that. And if you look at it, you see Tesla bumps up prices of Model 3, Model Y EVs in China by over 1,500. And then there's a summary of it, which is also hiking prices and that sort of thing. So you would expect that to be actually bullish, but it's not. So let's just look at other examples where the article contains, or the headline contains cuts, like price cuts, and you'd expect those ones to be bearish. But as you see, I mean, some of them are bearish. Well, some of them are nothing to do with price cuts. Cuts delivery time is supposed to be bearish, but it's actually positive. Because usually traders, when they have like longer delivery times, they punish this. They say it's bullish because high demand. So this is a wrong label. And cuts prices should be a negative label. Slashes car prices should be negative, but it's neutral. So these labels that Alpha Vantage provides might not be the best. And similarly, if I write the word slashes, like slashes is another headline. So you could say Tesla slashes car prices. You get neutral and not negative. I guess here they have slashes prices negative, somewhat bearish. So sometimes they do have it right. Sometimes they don't. And just if you you can look at the increases. Whenever it increases in the headline, Tesla increases prices. I mean, you don't know the rest of this, but like increase should generally be bullish. Stock price increase obviously is bullish, but I'm talking about like car price increases. Auto workers want higher wages. That's usually a negative thing, but here it's neutral. From my experience of following Tesla very closely. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is that you have to be very careful and don't just use like a data set as is, their provided labels. They might have used like an algorithm, like they might have used a sentiment analysis algorithm of their own to do this and not hand labeled. So it's very important to like not trust what you're given. And similarly with hikes, you see Tesla hikes prices, which is negative, but usually it's actually bullish. So you can see this seems completely wrong. So let me show you guys like how to get sentiment with Gemini, and then I'll show you guys how to get sentiment with like OpenAI. And this is a repeat of some of my other videos, but like I think it's important enough to repeat. And I guess oops, sorry. Okay, so Gemini is like the cool new Google thing. I know it had some bad press, but I think it's really cool and it works really well with like the Google Notebooks. Has good docs. If you go to the docs, there's a lot of things you can do. There's like the regular prompting models. So there's many different models. There's like Gemini 1.5 Pro is one of the latest ones. Like there's guides on prompting. There's various models here. They have so many resources. That's why I like Gemini, is because like you have a quick start resource and it shows you like how to like generate content, generate text, API quick start. There's like Python quick start, that sort of thing. And they have all these guides. They have things on model tuning. You can't tune like the latest models, but like you can tune some of the older ones. You can't tune 1.5 Pro. You can tune 1 Pro. But like they have fine tuning and a lot of cool things like that. Similarly, OpenAI does not let you fine tune GPT4. But okay, so you have all this good information on fine tuning and all these quick starts. It's very good. Embeddings is another interesting thing, by the way, is like if we do want to like create our own classifier for sentiment, we might want to use embeddings. So if you guys are familiar with this, word embeddings, for example, are like you map a word into like a big dimensional space where you want similar words to be similar to each other, like cat and dog. should be similar in some sense, that sort of thing. And you could have this similar thing for sentences, like sentence level embeddings. So all these models can like throw out embeddings. So like sometimes you can use embeddings as your starting point for your classifier model, and there's guides for that, and we'll make videos on that. But for now, we're just gonna try to use this as is, okay? So by the way, just before that, you can look at the models they offer. So okay, so there's various models, like they have all these models they offer for certain things. We're gonna use I think maybe the latest one is like the Gemini 1.5 Pro, and you only get 2 queries a minute, so let's use them wisely, and I'll show you guys how to do this. So let's get started. So you need to do this pip install thing, and I'll obviously have this notebook available. And you have all these model imports from Gemini. These are the 2 ones needed for Gemini. And this is like a cool thing about Google Colab is, okay, you need API keys for things like OpenAI and Google Gemini. So actually you can click here to get the an API key for Gemini. You have to like log in, get the, like you actually might have to have a billing account. So to get the API key, but look here. So you have this API key, you do create API key, you get like a new API key. You have to have a billing account. I can talk about that in another video, but like basically you need a billing account. There is a $300 credit for a trial period at first, so you can use that. But anyways, so once you have the API key, then you go to this like secret thing, and then you write your Google API key, and then you write the value here. And then you do like notebook access, you like enable access. And later, by the way, I'll have like OpenAI API key, so I'll enable access here. And then you have the value as your key. So that's like instead of hard coding your key. So now like I say like, okay, Gemini API key equals user data that get Google API key. Oh, I should have ran this import. Okay. So now I have this API key, and you do .configure API key equals Gemini API key. You can list the Gemini models. These are the ones like that generate content, which is basically all the Gemini stuff. So these are the models. We're gonna use the latest one, even though it's like still like a preview, but it's supposed to be the best one, and you have vision ones and that sort of thing. But we only get 2 calls in 60 minutes, so let's use them wisely. Okay, so let's now select the model we want to use. So we can loop over the models here. Sorry, we can just pick the model we want to use. Let's do model equals Gen AI, that generative model, Gemini 1.5 Pro latest. That's the latest model. Okay. So now this is like the annoying part is because this is like a text generation, we actually have to format the data into a prompt, and then from the prompt we have to extract the classification. This is similar to like the OpenAI API. So before we get started, we're going to just need a few formatting things like so let's create a new data frame, call it like DF formatted, which is just the data frame with the title. And then we're gonna need this like dummy column pred label. So it's gonna look like this. So this is DF formatted. This is just because this will be input eventually for our prompt. So this is just the title, because we're gonna only do title level sentiment prediction. And this is the prediction label. Okay. So let's also only look at the first 20. Because what we're going to do is we're going to actually do like the sentiment prediction of like 20 at once, and it's going to generate something. And remember, I looked at the models of the Gemini models back here, and basically there's a maximum output. So if you were to do it on all say 5,000 rows, you're going to get a text that's cut off because there's a maximum like number of tokens in the output. So let's look at the first 20 because I know it does not get cut off. So you're gonna have to first make it into a JSON format. So you can, first of all, I'm taking the first 20, and then I'm taking the title and the pred label we created, which was like the dummy empty thing. And then I do .to.json orient equals records. And you can look at the JSON data like this. As you see, like you get like kind of a list looking thing. You get title, Elon Musk making friends with big oil, but maybe not Tesla fans. And then you have like this dummy pred label, empty thing, and so on. You get a lot of these things. So now we're gonna set up the prompt, which this is the important part. So how is the prompt looking? So the prompt is something like this, and there's examples on Gemini's page on prompts. So basically, the prompt I created looks like this. It's like, you're an expert financial analyst who is good at classifying financial news headlines into bearish, neutral, bullish labels. Help me classify news headlines into bearish, label equals 0, neutral, label equals 1, and bullish, label equals 2. And then this is, just take this as is. Headlines are provided between 3 back ticks. In your output, only return the JSON code back as output, which is provided between 3 back ticks. Your task is to update predicted labels under pred label in the JSON code. Don't make any changes to JSON code format, please. Okay, so this is the prompt. So let me show you guys how to use that. So you do something like this. You do response equals model.generate content prompt. And then, so you run this prompt. I guess I didn't save it. So the prompt looks like this, and this is where we put the JSON data in the prompt itself. So now we run this response equals model.generate content prompt. And let's look at how response looks like. Okay, so response is like this sort of object thing. You can get the text by doing .text. And now you see what you get is you get like something like that looks like this, that you have it's kind of a JSON with this new line thing, but let me just print it for a second. So the 19th label, the 20th one is like the Tesla bumps up prices of Model 3, Model Y EVs in China by over 1,500, and you see it gave it a pred label of 1. Okay, and what was 1 again? 1 was in our case 1 was neutral. It's funny, there is some randomness here because I ran this many times before and I always got 0, but okay, it made it neutral, but we actually want it to be bullish. But as you see, like for everyone, it has a prediction. Elon making friends with big oil, but maybe not Tesla fans. That should be bearish. So maybe this is not the best answers. Usually there's something like there's like a temperature thing that controls the randomness. So maybe I can do like a Gemini, like I can do like a temperature. Usually there's like a temperature thing where if you want it to be like not random, you set the temperature thing. But here you see like they have examples of prompts. Anyways, let's not get into too much detail with that, but like I've had this before where it said the last one is actually not neutral. It's actually bearish that there's a price increase. Sorry. Here. Bearish that there's a price increase, which is the opposite of what we want. Okay, but we can cheat the prompt or change the prompt by adding something. Like we can like basically we can force behavior. So we can say like, okay, we can have everything as above, but here we say car price hikes are always bullish, car price cuts are always bearish. But the point is that out of the box, this is actually not what we wanted. We wanted this to be bullish, but let's if you force it, price hikes are bullish, price cuts are bearish, and you do the same prompt generate thing, you get yeah, so like so we get like Tesla increases model by 1500, label equals 2. Label equals 2, remember, was bullish, so it's good. It's what we wanted, but like we cheated, we like added it to the prompt. But this shows like the importance of fine-tuning, and fine-tuning with correct labels, because remember the Alpha Vantage had incorrect labels at the beginning. And just for like the sake of practice, we can compare to the Finbert model we talked about in the last last video on sentiment analysis. So like I'm just copying and pasting, like you basically do the from transformers import. You only need pipeline in this example, but you do the task sentiment analysis model name equals the Yang's Finbert, and then we can make predictions on the first 20 like last time. So we do the first 20 is iLoc to 20 title to list, and we make predictions. We get the predictions. Oops, run this first. So I just want to see how Finbert is out of the box. At first, of course, it's loading the model and downloading the model. Okay, great. So now we can loop through it, the predictions, just to see how they look like. So, okay, Elon Musk making friends with big oil, but maybe not Tesla fans. Neutral. Maybe that's a little bit negative in my opinion. Tesla bull says approval of Berlin Gigafactory removes major overhang. That should be bullish, but that's negative. But I mean, yeah, because this is before Giga Berlin was thing. So these things are not great out of the box. It did get lucky on the bumps prices, positive, but like this shows like the importance of having good label data and also reinforcement learning from human feedback. So if we look at some of the examples where it says slashes, just because we want to make sure that the slashes gives you like a negative label. So if I were to do that, I can do the preds on the DF slashes ones, and we'll see. Hopefully this gives us a negative sentiment. Tesla slashes car price across Europe after similar cuts in China. It gives you a neutral, which should give you a negative. Tesla slashes prices on Model 3, X, Y in the US, neutral. So these are not really so good. Okay, so now let's, just for the sake of completeness, do the OpenAI version. So you can go to OpenAI. You can, and I have one of my other videos when I showed how to, with interactive brokers, getting news data and doing sentiment analysis. This is kind of a repeat of that, but you can log in. Similar to Gemini, you have all these things like you have, you can do like, you have tutorials, you have different models, you can do fine tuning, get embeddings, images, all that stuff, very similar. These are all the same, they're just competing with each other. Okay, so anyways, we're actually going to use like, if you look at the tutorials, there's something, maybe overview, prompt examples. So like we're going to actually do something similar to this like tweet classifier, where it says like you will be provided with a tweet and your task is to classify sentiment as positive, neutral, or negative. and then user says, I love the new Batman movie, and the response is positive. So we're going to do something like that. But of course, first you need the API keys. So you, by the way, just for a second, you have fine tuning also, but you don't have it in GPT-4. But like, okay, so you go to API keys, you create like a new API key, a new API secret, and similar in Google Colab, you can click on the secret thing. You copy and paste like your OpenAI API key, and then you can use that. So but first use it. I needed to pip install OpenAI. That's the package, and then I do this like I get the key using this user data.get OpenAI key that I saved here, and then I connect to the OpenAI client, and let's see how ChatGPT, the famous GPT-4, does on this task. So it's a similar thing where you kind of need like prompts and messages. Like, so you do something like this. You specify the model, GPT-4 Turbo, which is like GPT-4 but like smaller and cheaper, and then you have a role like system. You will be provided a headline on Tesla stock, and your task is to classify its sentiment as bearish, neutral, or bullish. Only say one thing. And then you have like the maximum tokens, top P, temperature is like how random. And I don't want to get into too much detail, but like the response, you can extract it by doing response.choices0.message.content. So let's see how it is out of the box. So let's run this for a second. So we're going to try similar examples. Tesla bumps up prices of Model 3, Model Y EVs in China by over 1,500. It says it's bearish. That is definitely not how this thing works. Tesla actually can also go down when it ups prices, but like you shouldn't just give it a bearish score. A lot of times, by the way, it depends on like the supply. Like if it's supply chain related and it has to bump prices because of that, then the stock doesn't necessarily go up. But anyways, it shouldn't be bearish. It should be bullish. And then a similar thing is like you can check like Tesla slashes car prices across Europe after similar cuts in China. This should be bearish. And the stock usually, and it is correct here, which is good. The stock usually gets crushed when these things happen. So I guess actually maybe ChatGPT is very smart because Tesla seems to get crushed no matter what. It doesn't change when they raise prices, and it gets crushed when they lower prices. But okay. But like assume ChatGPT screwed up. You can also cheat and change the prompt by like saying you will be provided a headline in Tesla stock, and your task is to classify its sentiment as bearish, neutral, or bullish. Car price hikes are always bullish. Car price cuts are always bearish. Only say one thing. And then let's see how it responds. So we could do similar to this thing. Like get sentiment stored, Tesla bumps prices up, meaning it increased prices, and it gives you bullish. So I cheated my way to get the right answer, and then bearish. But this kind of shows you like that you probably need a good data set to fine tune. Don't rely on like data sets from the internet, like maybe even Alpha Vantage. It's a great data set, but like the labels are not necessarily by a human or something. You need high quality data to fine tune, and then you probably need reinforcement learning from human feedback to get the best answer and make sure this process continues. So anyways, this is a bit rushed. This was just basically kind of like because I had this video already ready. So anyways, hope you enjoyed. If you're new, please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Thank you.